Dave at No Recipe Required, and tonight we're going to do some pork chops, boneless pork chops. Now, I'm a bigger fan of bone-in pork chops, but some people, they don't like the bone. So if you're going to go ahead and cook boneless pork chops, most important thing is to cook them right, obviously. Without the bone, they're a little bit, they tend to dry out a little bit faster because they cook faster. And they're also usually a little bit thinner, so which again can lead to overcooking really, really quickly. One nice thing is you can actually do them very, very fast. It's going to take like 8 minutes or so to cook them. I really just pan sear them on both sides, get them to like 145 or so, right in the center. They stay tender, they stay juicy. I'm also going to show you how to do a really quick kind of sauce. Throw a little butter in the pan, some garlic, some thyme. Great way to add really easy flavor and have a fabulous pork chop. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, we've got our boneless pork chops right here. They've got kind of this fat layer on one side. We're going to let them come up to room temperature before we cook them, and about 20 minutes or so before we cook them. Season them. Salt and pepper on both sides is kind of the minimum amount, and frankly that's all you need. I think if you cook them right, salt and pepper's that sear, that's kind of all the flavor you need. But if you want, you can add cumin, you can add paprika, you can add a ton of other spices or flavorings to it. Not necessary to do that, but absolutely you can do so. Get them seasoned on both sides, let them sit for about 20 minutes or so. That salt will melt in there, then there'll be time to cook off. We've got our pan over high heat. I'm going to let this heat up to a good hot temperature. A little bit of olive oil in the pan and swirl that around so we don't stick. Now I mentioned the pork chops have this fat layer, and it's really tasty if it renders out. So first thing I do is kind of stack them up like this, and we're going to just sear the pork chops, that fat layer on this one kind of side. It's literally a side of the pork chops, just by putting them down. If you combine them like this, they tend to stand a little bit better. And just let them sear for about a minute, minute and a half, which will render a lot of that fat down. Okay, so a minute has gone by or so, a little bit over, and let's take a look at our fat layer there. You can see nice brown. A lot of that fat is kind of breaking down, and it's going to really be nice and tender. Now we're going to knock them on the side and just let them sear for 2 or 3 minutes. Again, high heat, you don't need to touch them, flip them, do anything. So if you use a good hot pan, leave them alone, you get this nice golden brown crust. That's all you need. We're going to flip these over, cook another 2 or 3 minutes on the second side. Get a similar brown crust on the second side. All right, these chops, you see we got them brown on the other side. They're pretty thin, so they're almost cooked, but we're going to add a little bit of butter, a little bit of garlic, and a little bit of thyme just to amp up the flavor. And this time now, like 2 or 3 minutes, will just help them finish cooking in the center. Once this butter melts, we'll come back and start basting our chops. All right, so now you can look like a pro. You just tilt the pan over. We get some of that olive oil butter flavored with thyme and garlic down to the edge. Use a spoon and just baste those pork chops. Now you're getting heat, obviously, on the bottom of the chop, on the top of the chop. It's going to move into the center and get it brought up to temperature right where we want it in the middle, and bring lots of flavor. Okay, so I've been doing this for years, so I know these pork chops are cooked perfectly right in the middle. If you need to, meat thermometer, you want 140 degrees. Once they're done, we want to pull them off the pan, put them on a cutting board, let them rest for a good 4 or 5 minutes before we slice into them. One of the things we can do while they're resting is just use this awesome flavored olive oil butter to make a quick little sauce. So I'm going to pull the thyme out like that. I'm also going to grab a little bit of chopped scallions or green onions is what I'm using. If you want, you can use parsley. You can use just about any green herb you want. Throw that in there. Just add a little bit of color, a little bit of freshness to the sauce. Mix it in. You don't really need to cook it. We can turn off the heat, and then we'll spoon this over our pork. Alright, our pork has now rested. I got that drizzle of sauce on there. Let's cut it open and see how we're doing. This is nice. You can see that fat layer is just kind of pulling right off. It's nice and tender. If it's not your thing, fine, don't eat it. But I'll tell you, it is damn tasty. We got a nice, tender, juicy pork chop here because we didn't overcook it. We cooked it fast over high heat. I think you're going to love it. So give it a try, and I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the pork chop video. Don't forget to subscribe and check out these other links. I think you're going to love them as well. I'll see you next time.